Every now and then, something seemingly impossible happens. We call it a prodigy. When something from nothing happens, prodigy. When an autistic savant calculates pi to the 100th digit, prodigy. There always seems to be an explanation for a prodigy, something that makes the impossible possible. And sometimes we need the impossible to happen. We're in deep trouble. So we throw a Hail Mary pass. A prodigy has to be found super fast in those situations, right when we need it. The population explosion presents such a problem. Did you know that? But hopefully, we can avoid a Hail Mary pass. Today, we're going to talk about the population explosion problem and something I call the Quintillion Project. Ready?
Hello there. My name is James Carvin. You probably remember me as the Quintillion Project guy who wanted to straighten you out on a few things about the population explosion. Remember me?
To review, we've had a 1.1% annually compounding population growth rate for the past several centuries, and it's still maintaining that rate despite wars, disease, birth control, and abortion. Not many people are aware that the population explosion is a problem because the human growth rate is just slow enough to hardly notice it. But here are the simple facts. The population doubles every 62.8 years. Therefore, if we keep growing at the same rate that we've been growing in for hundreds of years, there will be over 1 trillion people on the planet in 628 years. There will be more than 1 quadrillion people in just 1,200 years, and more than 1 quintillion people in 1,800 years or less at the current rate. There'll be problems that'll slow the growth down with all that population, to be sure. But that's what the current rate of growth does. And 1,800 years is a very short period of time. Just for some perspective, Jesus was on the planet just 2,000 years ago. 1,800 years is less than that. So everyone knows that a planet can't sustain 1 quintillion people. We worry about carbon footprints right now. The problem would be 1 billion times larger with carbon with 1 quintillion people. Realize that's 1 billion times the current population, which is 7.5 billion. The math's very simple. There is no choice. We can either keep avoiding the issue, throw Hail Mary passes down the road long after it's too late, or we can do something about it now by figuring out responsible, ethical, and unpainful ways to reduce our population, or at least maintain it. Actually, it's already too large, with the goal of optimizing awesomeness. What is optimized awesomeness? What do you think? Wouldn't you describe it as happiness for as many people and pets as possible? Would you add flourishing forests and glens, ponds, and lakes to that picture with all sorts of fauna and flora? How about living securely? Wouldn't that be nice? Sense of safety might be a part of happiness for everyone, right? We don't all share the same concept of a utopia, but most would agree with that general direction. Now, you may not think that a utopian world is possible. I don't know if it is, but I do know that we'd sure know it if it happened. We'd also know if the opposite was happening. Gosh, these gnats are bothering me, but maybe we need them for some reason. Who eats gnats? If everyone was miserable If even our pets were unhappy, then we would know that. And we'd know if all nature was going extinct. And it's sure to happen if we don't think in advance of what we're headed to as a human species. Now, I don't want to be throwing any Hail Mary passes here. Human beings, they may not agree with each other about values, but we do share one pond, one earth, one environment. Some value freedom more than others in that pond. Some value planning more. What we get is a net effect of it all, of everybody's ideas tossed together and activities in a very complex world. So that's what I call the pond.
One of the white Peking ducks and the mallard, or the Peking duck and the Muscovy. But yeah, when they stand up, you can see some of them have partial rings around their neck. That's the mallard ring.
Oh, and so then the black duck that's like behind them all?
That's the East Indy.
That's the East Indy, okay. I had an interesting conversation with a homeless woman here. Her name is Z at Lake Ella. Z visits the park a lot more than I do, and she shared its history with me quite a bit. She was upset that the Muscovy ducks had interbred with the mallards and wiped out both species in the process. Now, that was supposed to be impossible. The two species are too genetically different, she said, to do that. So, how did the impossible become possible? Well, some smart human being came and introduced Peking ducks and black West Indies ducks into the pond. Probably some pet owner who brought them at a store and had to sell their farm. The Peking ducks, that's what we eat in restaurants. The little white ones, and also there's black ones. Black West Indies ducks could mate both with mallards and with Muscovies. So voila, some pet owner created a new species, the Lake Ella duck. Okay, so there's one with... So the one with the red on the head, it's got a bit of a crest. Would that be a dad, or is that a mom?
They have a small crusty head.
That's a mom, okay. A little bit. So this is her family. She's bringing them back to shore.
Well, they're
This is
so
who I've been
trained,
tracking.
If a human comes along like this, they're trained to... Where are the white Pekings? Now something's up here. I see the black one. She's never. There's two white Pekings.
They're
I usually
hiding.
always by the two black ones.
He's hiding behind this bush.
Yeah, there's a curious look on his face.
Oh.
I love his look. It's your dog. I love your dog's face.
There's Spot. Oh yeah, Gulpy. I was gonna call you Gulpy, remember? You're back. You came back with, oh look how big you all got in just 2 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you are, all 7 of you. And the mom's name is Gulpy.
Gulpy?
Yeah, because she got that thing on her throat.
Yep, all of these, yeah, you can see the mallard mix in them. And yeah, you see wild, these things aren't wild, the animals, they are domestic, and if people don't feed them, they're going to die
you
and
gonna
they need to
make
be
it?
moved.
Yeah.
It's the bottom line. Oh, you're getting sniffied.
Domestic,
If you look at them
not
all standing
wild.
here, this is the only thing they know to do.
I've come here pretty often, and I've gotten to know a duck named Gulpy and her 7 baby ducklings as they've been growing up. Gulpy was one of those special new species of Lake Ella duck. Gulpy had me pondering the pond. Gulpy probably doesn't even know how to forage for food at this point. Z was very upset about that. She can't teach that to her little ducklings. They're domesticated, and they're destined to be dependent on human beings for survival. Now, lots of species actually are, whether they're domesticated or not, because if we're going to destroy their habitats, then that's a problem. Some people hunt wild ducks. I think hunting and fishing are cruel. I don't understand why other people don't see it that way. I see the need for population control of humans, of animals, and of plants for that matter, but I also look for an optimal level of awesomeness, and I never make a sport out of killing. Just because jungle is cruel doesn't mean that I have to be. Well, sure, big fish eat little fish. They're apex predators. But those instincts, they're built for survival. Survival and awesomeness are two very different things. Then there are industries. We multiply cows, chickens, and pigs. That's big business. We are free to eat them. We think they taste awesome. And they do, because of survival. We survived because in ages when there was no vegetation, there was still some meat in those big animals that were doing the same thing we were. And the good taste of meat drove us to hunt. The good taste of smoked food over fires drove us to burn the bacteria and the parasites out of that meat. Loving smoked barbecue pig saved us. But we don't have to eat pig. We're omnivores. And we don't have to raise pigs on pig farms, and we're not living in an ice age. We can plan our future rather than have markets dictating our future by telling us to want and like things that are not optimizing awesomeness. If we let markets dictate our future, valuing our freedoms above a little planning, then we'll keep doubling our population every 62.8 years. That's going to increase demand for farm animals. Big industry will love it. So I know you love barbecue. But do you see why this is important? Here's some factoids. There are currently 1.5 billion cows raised per year for dairy or slaughter, producing over 200 pounds of methane annually per cow. That's 300 billion pounds of additional methane per year being added to the atmosphere. Methane is 20 times worse than carbon as a greenhouse gas, according to the EPA. Keep doubling that every 60 years. See the problem? Zero carbon emissions won't matter if we keep doubling our cattle consumption, and that's just cows. Add Peking ducks, add all you want. There's a lot of animals we keep consuming. Think of the chicken. So I know you love barbecue, and you love to hunt, and you love to fish, but do you give a damn about your great-grandchildren and all those who will inherit the byproducts of your liberty? This is why ethics matter. It's why we weigh freedom against planning. It's why I founded the Pamalonomies Society. It's why I call for Pamalonomies. In the Quintillion Project, Episode 1, I recommended the HAND system. HAND stands for Human Availability and Needs Database. The HAND system is a website that lets people order whatever they need or want. It's a single website where you can purchase literally anything, and it's all free. There's absolutely no cost to anything. Just order it. Now, wouldn't that be nice if you didn't have to pay for anything? That's impossible, right? Somebody always has to pay, you say. But I threw in a prodigy, and it wasn't a Hail Mary. The caveat was that instead of a price listed, there was a privilege level that you needed to earn to be qualified to get stuff for free from the website. As long as you had earned a qualifying level of privilege, you could get any listed item without paying for it, depending on the privilege level required for that item. Privilege would be a right that you could exercise when using the website to to get whatever you wanted. Privilege would not be free, it would be earned. Privilege is earned on the supply side. The many requests for things get tabulated in live time by the website. The website, not some central planning committee or bureaucracy, sends out needs requests. And then, what were formerly businesses but are now product and service providers, fulfill those requests. Mind you, they don't have to pay employees. Nobody needs any money anymore for anything. They just hire as many people as they need to fill those requests. And they don't have to pay for any sort of raw materials. In fact, there's no expense side for these businesses at all. They just operate. Everything is free. Therefore, there's no cost of doing business. Businesses just supply needs. No central government is required except where resources are limited. Obviously, there's some natural resources that have limitations. If you want to know more about all this, look up something called incentivized asynalagonomy on the jamescarvin.com website. Asynalagonomy is a long word that I made up that means tradeless economy. Forget the long word, keep it simple. Just call it the hand system. The hand system handles the incentives that are needed to make the system work. Now, the problem with the hand system is that it's too radical of a concept to gain wide acceptance. I'm not naive about that. That's why I recommend trying it on small scales first, rather than national or global ones. But trying it on a small scale is also problematic because no small group is likely to have all of the resources they need to create what would be called a closed economy. Most nations don't even have what they need to become something called an autarky. Nations that have attempted to be completely economically independent have tended to fail. Their economies have shrunk, stagnated, performed very poorly. And to be sure, actually, no country that, as far as I'm aware, has ever attempted an incentivized asynalagonomy, so we're talking apples to oranges. But because people assume that they might have to give up their possessions, which is incorrect, by the way, or that I'm just suggesting socialism or communism by some other name, which I'm definitely not, the idea isn't likely to float. I'm not naive about this. So here at the pond, I think about Gulpy as she floats along with her family. She wasn't supposed to be possible. None of them were. Yet here she is, a prodigy. That's where Pamalonomies come in. A Pamalonomy has a touch of the hand system. It does involve earned privileges that can be exercised, but it isn't impossible. It works better on a small scale. It can be a single business enterprise, or it can grow into something larger, maybe an association. It can involve just one product or service. And it can take many forms, like Gulpy here and her cousins. A Pamalonomy is a business or an association of businesses that have a positive social impact in mind from their conception. The impact is measured by the ethical theory of Pamalogy that I've been discussing in the Pamalogy Society blogcasts. The incentive to do business with a Pamalonomy, as opposed to a typical capitalist enterprise, would be possible ownership or royalty rights in that business. Users of the products and the services or the creators of the art, the software that they've made, the music that they've produced, whatever it is, they're earning some sort of sweat equity. They're privately owned, and there aren't any financial investors from the outside. But there's also a lot of flexibility in it. A non-profit organization might also qualify as a Pamalonomy due to its high potential social impact. It might have a donor business model instead of a shareholder earnings model. The best business model depends on the desired outcome in terms of the total impact.
Gulpy's species, Pamalonomies, can contain different portions of mallard, muscovy, Peking, or black West Indies. The Lake Ella duck is characterized by variety and hybridization. Gulpy symbolizes the transformation of the pond with its shifting tides. The transition to her new hybrid species was smooth. The impossible became possible. The shift to a socially conscious hybrid capitalism, a Pamalonomy, can do the same thing, but time is ticking. Z made me wonder what sort of planning existed to protect wildlife where I live here in Tallahassee, so I checked out the Tallahassee websites to see what the priorities were. Had there been any effort to keep Muscovies from mating with mallards? No. Was there any warning preventing introduction of black West Indies ducks into the pond? Not that I found. The chief concern at the moment seems to be algae blooms. Algae blooms can trigger red tides that kill people and fish. We protect our manatees and our sea turtles, big sea mammals and the megafauna in them that come there. We're only concerned about the little things because it's the little stuff that the bacteria and the tiny bugs and the bigger fish will be feeding on, and the birds. And that affects what we can see and what we can eat, right? Algae blooms can hide underwater plants from the sun, though, and that has a big effect on the pond. Reduces the food supply, lowers the oxygen levels in the ponds and the lakes. So what does all this have to do with human population growth, you may ask? Well, first off, some 60 to 90% of insect life, which has not entirely disappeared obviously from this, there's gnats here at the lake, is on its way to extinction. It's being depleted. Total population has depleted of most bug species. And it's largely due to agriculture. Now, here I am at Lake Henrietta. This natural preserve was founded by the first commissioner in Leon County, where Tallahassee is. The first commissioner of color, actually, Anita Davis. Davis was aware of the traditionally marginalized, and that can be seen on the bulletin board that she's left over here, where there's invitation to multicultural events and such. They even have a disabled porta potty over there. Very thoughtful. She's concerned about the marginalized and obviously cared very much. But the Lake Henrietta Preserve has now been turned into a runoff deposit area for sediments that come from Lake Munson. Lake Munson and Lake Henrietta are the surrounding lakes of the water reclamation facility that does about 53 million gallons of water a day at its peak around here. Now, we don't think about our wastewater a whole lot. We just flush it down the toilet and it's gone, right? Wrong. Population growth affects the world. We are all part of a pond, one pond. At some point between here and a quintillion people is a worldwide extinction that we all have to prevent. Let me close with a call to action. Your donation to the Quintillion Project through the Pamalonomies Society is going to provide seed money and human resources for projects like greentechnews.org, the Hatred Index, and the Counterchecker, and
many other possible programs listed at jamescarvin.com. The programs I mentioned will sort out fact from fiction in a politically and socially complicated world through better information systems. Be aware that all 30-plus projects that are listed on my website at jamescarvin.com can be started as Pamalonomies with your help. You can be the change, but I'm sure you have questions. Visit our Patreon page for answers. Ciao. Well, it's just deep enough so that these special boots I prepped up won't quite do the trick. But we're getting somewhere. We're gonna get this trash one way or the other. Might just have to get a little boat, I would think. We're working on it. Oh gosh. Got a lot of cleanup to do here. Look at all that over there. Well, this looks like a scuba job because honestly, these boots are full of water now. God only knows what's in these boots with my feet. Gonna definitely have to make another plan. All that stuff over there is too far away. This, I got close enough I can reach it now. Of course, you can see that the boots were of absolutely no use. This thing could help a little bit in retrieving some of this. And obviously the boots. This is the story of the boots. Hence all the gunk on my pants. That's all right. It was a calculated risk, right? The top half seems to be doing okay. I'll make a pretty good merman. What do you think? Let's give this a try. Ready to enter the pond? It's a bit of work to do in here. What am I gonna do? Well, you gotta start poorly and get better as you go. That's how you do anything well. Start badly. Getting a little better at it with the grabber here. Still got a long way to go. Unbelievable. Well, you do what you can. Tomorrow's another day.
It's true. I've got good news for you.